Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger. Janelle has the night off. Well, the suspect in a deadly shooting at a naval air station in Pensacola, Florida, has now been identified as a member of the Saudi military who was training here. The shooting happened this morning inside a classroom on the base. Witnesses say the shooter killed 3 people and wounded 7 others, including 2 deputies. They were hit during a gun battle with the shooter. The suspect was killed during the exchange. The Pentagon says the suspect had been in the U.S. since 2017 and was scheduled to stay until next August. Federal law enforcement sources confirmed to CBS News that investigators have talked to other Saudi nationals in connection with the shooting. At this time, sources say no one has been detained, nor is anyone else at this time being called a suspect. Well, this is the second shooting at a military base in the U.S. this week. On Wednesday, a gunman killed himself and 2 others at the Pearl Harbor Naval Shipyard there in Hawaii. Well, the U.S. government says domestic terrorism is a persistent threat today. Terrorists are self-radicalizing right here in America. Alicia Nieves found out how cities are fighting back.
There are more than 40,000 members of jihadist groups in the Middle East who have been recruited and radicalized in 110 countries, including America. Since 2011, at least 114 Americans have been radicalized in the U.S. The government knows of 64 who have successfully joined a terror group.
It's been a significant problem, homegrown radicalization here in the District of Minnesota.
Minneapolis has the largest number of Americans who have been radicalized. Federal Court Chief Judge John Tuheim has dealt with dozens of them.
We have a large group of Somali immigrants here who are wonderful, productive members of our community, a very large group. But there have been some who it's difficult for them to shake the ties to the old country.
For perspective, there are more than 100,000 Somali Americans in Minneapolis, and less than 1% have been radicalized. But those who have are mostly young men, even teens.
What are some of the ways that people have been radicalized?
Well, I think the biggest culprit is probably the internet and very effective advertising, recruitment videos that were done by ISIS.
Last year, Judge Tuheim and other district court judges in the Twin Cities decided to come up with a way to combat radicalization here. His court created the country's first de-radicalization program for homegrown terrorists.
We spent some time looking around the world, and we examined programs in about 8 or 9 different countries.
The program in Minneapolis is modeled after a program that de-radicalized Nazis in Germany. It provides defendants with a shorter prison sentence in exchange for longer and more intense probation periods, along with required mental health care and counseling.
There's no guarantee, of course, but these people are going to get out of prison at some point in time, and you don't want them to come out of prison re-radicalized or even worse than when they went in, because that's a real public safety danger. So I think we'd like to work with them and see what we can do.
I think I hear you saying in your 20-plus years of experience that compassion here may be the cure.
Well, I think it is. It's certainly worth a try.
I'm Alicia Nieves.
Well, here in Billings, the city is working to safely remove some large boulders where just 2 months ago a portion of the rims came crashing down and destroyed a Billings home. Now the ultimate goal to remove any potential hovering threat for the surrounding neighborhood. Q2's Zoe Zandora was on the site today to show us how.
A home destroyed by falling rocks from the rims, an effort to try and ensure safety in the future for those living in the neighborhood below, and to secure the safety of the workers the city of Billings needs to have working in the right of way to get rid of the remains of the previous rock slide.
Yeah, we've needed to go through, we wanted to make sure we found the folks who do this, who are professionals, who know what they're doing. We put the work out to bid, had contractors come and review it, and we wanted to you don't get two chances to do this right.
Apex is drilling holes inside the rocks, and after those holes are made, an airbag is put inside and inflated with a compressor, allowing the rock to separate and break into pieces.
That airbag just puts pressure on that rock and just dislodged it enough to where it came down.
Chris Kukolski says safety really is the driver, making sure the workers who will haul the rest of the rocks off from the right-of-way are safe.
Anytime we've got people working in the right-of-way, whether they're city employees or contractors, we just have to, safety has to be our top priority. And so that's really been the impetus of the work that's being done.
Once the rock scaling work is done, another crew will haul the rest of the rocks out, and then Kukolski says the streets will be opened back up and it will be business as usual.
Neighbors have been really good to work with. They've been patient as we worked our way through it, and I think they've genuinely appreciated the steps to be communicating with them as to where we are in the process.
In Billings, Zoe Zandora, MTN News.
The city manager says if all goes according to plan, that cleanup should be finished by Christmas. Well, the fatal incurable chronic wasting disease is spreading. Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks reporting 25 new cases have now been documented. That brings the statewide total to 91. And while the majority of the new positive samples were from animals in known CWD zones, 2 samples were from areas where the disease had never been. Now, this includes a mule deer doe harvested south of the Fort Peck Reservation and a whitetail buck harvested in Rosebud County. The 2 areas are near CWD management zones. The general hunting season is now closed, so FWP will now review management strategies in order to figure out how to best combat that disease. Well, the flu season is well underway for most of the country. The latest CDC data shows that as of November 30th, 30 states and Puerto Rico have either reported widespread or regional activity. Here's what flu activity looks like in Montana right now. According to the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services, influenza is active in at least 2 regions of the state, but not yet widespread. However, activity is increasing with 34 new cases over Thanksgiving week. So far, there have been just over 100 confirmed flu cases for the season, and 14 people have been hospitalized. Experts say even though the season is just getting started, it is not too late to get that flu shot. All right, we want to turn to weather now. We're cruising into the weekend, but come Sunday, Ed, we could be doing less cruising and a little bit of sliding. Huh?
That's for sure. Yeah, things are really comfortable today, and tomorrow we're going to be watching western Montana, where we'll start to pick up a chance of rain and snow showers. Our concern is not so much for the amount of snow, other than northern Montana could actually see a fairly good amount of snow by the time this starts to wind down. But by early Sunday, check out around Billings, Lame Deer up towards Miles City, rain showers. That could be more of a rain-snow mix or some of that freezing drizzle. The colder air will continue to surge down throughout the day, so that could even cause some refreezing as we start getting into the afternoon. So we'll be watching with several computer models, but most of them putting our total snow somewhere between just a trace and less than 4 inches. So a couple of inches of fresh snow on the ground, but the slippery conditions could be the real concern. We'll take a closer look at all the forecast details coming up in just a little while.
All right, thank you, Ed. Well, the Billings Community Christmas tree was planted back in 1931, but the tradition had to be restarted. The 3rd annual Christmas tree lighting brought people together at the community park off Division Street this evening.
3, 2, 1, roll!
Children helped Mayor Bill Cole pull the switch. The Billings Jaycees, along with the Billings Parks and Recreation Department, brought back the event. The Central High School Choir sang some Christmas carols. Santa Claus also making an appearance. And the Western Heritage Center gave the history of the tree. That history is important to those organizing the celebration.
You do get the older generations that say, we were here back when they used to light it, and then all these kiddos running around excited to see Santa and excited to listen to music. It's just so much fun. I always just kind of get teary-eyed because it feels like the start of the holiday season, and I love having everybody come together, and it just feels so warm and like Christmas is here.
Well, that tree was planted across Division Street for the children at St. Vincent Hospital, which is now Central High School. And we're going to have some highlights from the Polar Plunge a little later in the newscast, but still to come on the 10 o'clock news. Tomorrow we're going to pay tribute to the service members who laid down their lives to protect our country. Montana's part next. Plus, these firefighters are combining free time with a touch of patriotism. Find out how. And then later in sports, we take one final look at the preparations for the Cats and the Grizz as they get ready for those playoff openers tomorrow.
You're watching MTN News with Janelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.